Good morning, everyone. Good morning, NUFC Talk TV fans, watchers. Welcome to the watch along. I mean, not watch along. Well, the watch along of the of the presser, to say the least. So, welcome everyone. I hope you're doing well. It is Chris here and the mighty win, reacting to Eddie Howe's live presser. You're gonna be able to enjoy that one here, of course, live in a couple of minutes. We got about 20 minutes before Eddie Howe comes out and talks all things Newcastle United. Some questions might be important. The Jolinton confirmation that I think Craig Hope is saying that he is going to be back by the Brighton FA Cup game. So that is a positive that he's going to be there for the final, it looks like. Maybe we need to confirm that with Eddie Howe and any other questions ahead of the Forest matchup on the weekend. Good morning, Mighty Win. You are muted.
Almost always the first question that ask him, and
What was that?
injuries, anything to do with injuries, it's always the
Yeah,
what they open up with. A
exactly.
nice easy starter for 10, as they say.
Yep. Um, so we shall see what happens there. So please hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe. If you're a Newcastle fan, if you hate the Mackhams, smash that like button. Very important that you help us out doing that. Also, a big announcement today is a bit of a launch day for us as far as the NTTV All Access Patreon. And we are working on adding really good quality shows that you don't see around on our website. As you know, YouTube is an independent company, private company. They get to do and set the rules as how they want it, and we are limited on what we can show to the fans on here. So we want to bring more of a premium show to you guys that's worth your while. So the link is pinned in the chat. You can join us on the website NUFC talk.tv / all access, or you can just click the link that's pinned in the chat. Join us there. It is a Patreon, but you will get 30 days for free. Your first 30 days is free, so you can test it out, see what it is, and see whether you want to continue your membership or not. So please join us after this show. We're going to be doing one of the NTTV original show that you can only find on the website. It's called the Geordie Premier League Show Biased, and we're going to be taking a look at the weekend in the Premier League. Big matchups coming up, important matchups that relate to us as well. But a big one is Liverpool Man City. That's going to be a big one, and see whether Liverpool decides this is my league, or Man City starts creeping up. Man City right now just above us in the league, so it's very important to see what happens with them, if they are a team that's going to be fighting for the league or fighting with us in the fifth, fourth, sixth spot. So join us on the website, nufctalk.tv / all access, or click the link that's pinned in the chat and become an all access member. Mighty win. Me and you will be doing that, showing you footage, proper Premier League footage, and everything else. So please join us there after the show. It'll be at 11 a.m. UK. So we still got quite a bit to get there. Gary is there now. Welcome, Gary. How you doing?
Good morning, gentlemen. Sorry, I'm a couple of minutes late, but kids are at home, wife's at work, jobs to do, eh? Whoa. This fine morning.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Are you guys okay?
We're doing good. We're doing good. Just getting there. I woke up at 2 in the morning, hit the showers, was ready. Try to get ready instead of just waking up barely on time.
Yeah. I was struggling to wake up this morning. We had a really late night, me and the missus, last night, watching a program, and it just seemed to go on and on. And you get actually engrossed in something. And like I say, before we know it, I mean, my missus had to be up at 6 this morning to get to work. So it was a case of we were up until silly o'clock this morning trying to come to the conclusion of a program we were watching. And I'm suffering this morning, as you can tell by my eyes. Still haven't quite said hello to the morning glory yet. I have to be careful how I say that. Morning glory, I suppose.
That's right. That's right. Well, what can we expect from this presser today, gentlemen?
Well, I'm hoping it's going to be a little bit better than the last couple we've had.
Well, I wouldn't put money on it. That's for certain.
No, nor me.
But I mean, certainly we'll be asked about injuries, I would assume. So that's a big one.
It'll be interesting to see if there's any comeback from Craig Hope's. Are we on the knife edge? I wonder whether there's going to be something from that regarding, as he's made the statement. Has he? Well, we all know he's got the kahunas to actually ask Eddie out front to see whether he believes that this is the lads just being in reserve, if you like, trying to stay fit for the final.
Yeah, that could be a very good question. I mean, don't know if Eddie's gonna answer it as he should, but well, I mean, he did say it last time around, and I don't know if that was a message that he wanted to send out. That if that's the case, our season is pretty much going to be over by the time the final comes around. So maybe if that's the case, it could be, and Eddie Howe might answer that accordingly, of course. So Joe Linton is a big. Craig Hope is saying that he's going to be back for the Brighton FA Cup match. So that is something positive. But I'm sure they're going to ask Eddie to confirm that. Other than that, but maybe the lineup.
Botman injury as well. I think he's going to be the one because obviously even though
G7, isn't it?
That's a big one. Well, the Botman injury is we don't know what's happened, so maybe we can get some clarity on that.
Barnes and Crofts, are they fully fit?
Right.
Well, they were on the bench. I would expect them to be
if required. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it wouldn't make any sense. Well, again, we've said this before, haven't we? We've seen what happened to Botman being played when he wasn't fit to play. So, like I said, it just, and I think we go back to what we've been saying for some time now. Unlike the likes of Nottingham Forest, if people didn't watch the preview yesterday, who've got a multitude of players to choose from across all positions, Eddie Howe isn't quite as lucky.
Yeah, that is true. Good show, by the way. Good preview.
Stephen Hawker there got inside information, apparently, saying Luke Edwards is going to ask about Lascelles.
Well, he has been off the radar somewhat, hasn't he? Since he's in.
Yeah, because he was supposed to be January. Originally, if you remember, Botman was going to be December, and he was going to be January. Then he was January, and Lascelles was February. Well, it's coming into March now.
Yeah.
Well, look, my golden rule when it comes to players like Lascelles and Callum Wilson. I just don't count on them. I mean, I just act as if they don't exist. Because what's the point? I mean, obviously he can do a role, I guess, in center back if needed, if he's healthy. But I think that's what Kraft is there to do first, anyway. Which is, by the way, obviously you got a new contract, Kraft and Dubravka. So Dubravka, what does it mean? Because everybody's saying now that Trafford is going to be a Newcastle goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Is it confirmed? Nothing confirmed yet, obviously, but I mean, everybody is talking about it as if it is. So if that's the case, then you got Dubravka signed, and Nicholas Pope, man, he fell from grace, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think after a while, you sometimes have to swallow the sword a little bit. When you look at, we all know what Nick Pope brings us regarding saves. He's a shot stopper. His reactions are great. But his overall game, and I think unfortunately now, 99% of all teams start at the back, and you've got to be competent. And unfortunately, neither we know Nick Pope hasn't got the ability, but I also think it's a little bit more fact that he puts a lot more pressure on the defenders playing the ball back to him, because obviously they have to make themselves available pretty quick. And like I say, I wouldn't say with any strength or clarity that any of our back centre backs are excellent passers. We know Shark can ping a ball 70 yards, but there's a difference when you've got pressure on you, and it's how you handle that pressure. And like I say, sometimes we are a little bit awkward. We can see that across the back line. And like I say, what you get with Dubravka is a little bit more stability. He's vulnerable in certain areas, we know that, But I think all keepers have a vulnerability. You know, if you look at Man United, they bought Onana in just because of his footwork, but his actual shot stopping is awful. You know, so sometimes you have to give one away just to get like an equilibrium across the pathway, if you like, and that's how I look at it.
Yeah. You got a good point. Got a good point. I don't know what.
Jody Dan says, I hope Louise asks about the political situation of the national bowling team of Timbuktu.
Yeah, I love that. Geordie Dan seems to be on the same par as Beer with some of his puns.
Yeah. Anyways, don't forget, after this show, we're going to be doing the Premier League Jordy Bias show on the website. So please join us there. Get 30 days for free and enjoy. We're going to be showing footage and everything else. So join us after this show over there. There's a link in the chat. You can get there, sign up, and join us. You can live chat. We figured that out. Last time when we did the test run, people couldn't live chat and they couldn't. They had a meltdown. There's a positive and a negative. You can live chat on the website if you are on a laptop or PC, computer of any sort, or on the desktop version on your mobile device. But unfortunately, as it is just on your phone, or I would assume iPad, I haven't tried it on iPad, you cannot live chat. But if you're on a PC, on a laptop, or the desktop version on your mobile device, you should be able to live chat. And all you got to do is hover over the video part of it, and you will see a little message bubble pop up, and you can live chat on the website as well. So please join us there if you don't mind. And the link is right there in the chat, so please sign up. Jordy Dan says we should start a double act, the new Chuckle Brothers. There you go. Exactly.
Yeah, that would be class.
That would be lovely. Let me see. Let me trying to work this Eddie Howe thing here.
Have we got reception? That's the word.
Well, it looks like people love the audio over the video, so we're going to be doing that.
I agree with that. I think it certainly makes you concentrate more.
Exactly.
On what's being said.
I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, that is a good point there. So we got it right here, and of course, in an hour's time after the presser or so, we will upload the highlights of the press conference. So please stay tuned to that, and you'll be able to watch it as well. So you get everything here on NUFC Talk TV, man. Everything tune related here for the lads and lasses. So, anyways, what other questions do you think will come from? By the way, I mean, obviously, I think one of the topics will be, the lads getting their head right after an awful performance, and how maybe Eddie has worked on that or what's happening. So that would be good to know. On so there you go.
Well, they've had a full week training this time, so every time it seems to me every time we have a full week, we're worse for it.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we need Champions League back to back to back. We certainly need that, or European football at least. I will agree. Good morning, Nathan.
Good morning, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I can't wait, man. I feel like we need European football. I mean, it's I just feel like so left out when everybody else is playing Europe, and we're not. I mean, which by the way has been the norm anyway. So for us,
can you imagine us against Real Madrid though? If you, you know what I mean?
But that's the way you're gonna have to get.
That's what you've got to do, mate. Exactly, and that's what I said. If they made Man City look very ordinary, didn't they?
Yeah.
Who obviously the previous weekend obviously made us look very ordinary. So you can imagine the levels that you're aiming for now regarding a squad. Is twofold, and you start looking at, and forgive me guys because I don't want to be negative. The biggest thing for me is the fact that you start hearing all these rumours and you start looking at some of the players that we're linked to and everything else, and you do have to question what level we are trying to achieve with some of the names that you're looking at, and you don't know whether these are squad players. I mean, but they're all squad players. Don't get me wrong, but are the names that we are linked to going to give us the promised land at the end of it? And I have to question that sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, not really. I mean, they could be, but at this point, that's what we're looking at. I guess not established players. Um, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's a tough situation. We don't know what the club situation financially is until March. We won't know for sure, and that's the thing. It's yeah. I mean, to be honest though, who out there? It's tough though because who would be a player that you would go out there if you had all the money in the world? Who would Newcastle go and try to get? Um,
I think in the current format, it's who would come, Chris. You know what I mean? That's what I said. I think the biggest problem we've got at the moment is you're only ever going to get lads, and I'm going to say the likes of Kieran Trippier, who at the time of him coming was a godsend, but he was towards the end of his career. Once players have played European football and reached a certain level, then you're always going to have the options of going and cherry picking certain players with that name. But to actually pull in a player, unless you're going to go absolutely crazy regarding finances, and that's how Saudi get away with it. Saudi pull a lot of players their way now because they're obviously willing to pay them to do that. Newcastle at this minute are in that what I call no man's heath, where they haven't got the European attraction. They haven't got the monies behind them at the minute financially to support the wage. I mean, yes, it can all change. We know that, especially once the second ATP rule fails, because I can't see it winning. I think it can all change. And I think the summer does look a lot more promising now, listening to all the hype, than it did a week ago. But like I said, I still don't think we are close enough yet to the promised land to be a consistent top four team, to be a consistent team within Europe where you're going to the latter stages. And I think, we're going to be another 2 or 3 seasons away before we can look at something like that. Because like I said, we're a stale team now. We've lost 3 windows where you could have advanced a little bit. And again, for me, a man in a suit, in a black and white suit, should be knocking on the Premier League doors and asking, you're going to get some compensation for them not being able to go out there and spend.
I mean, if we had all the money we can spend, it still will be somewhat tough to persuade some, because if
I think we're in a much better position now than what we were when we were trying to attract Kieran Trippier.
Yeah, I agree with you.
We're in a much better position than we were then.
I agree. You can say that, but I mean, if you go out there and
it's all down to money now.
Yeah, that's fine. But if you go out there and get Lamine Yamal, trust me, bro, Barcelona is everything for him. So to persuade these players like Vinicius Jr.
There's nobody talking about getting Lamine Yamal.
Well, I'm saying if we have all the money in the world, that means we can attract the best players in the world, and those are the best players in the world. So that's what I'm getting at. If you want to attract the best players in the world, I guess you would really probably have to pay more than the usual in their salaries to attract them to come over here, if you can. If I'm saying, if we're able to spend everything we want, and that's.
But nobody could attract Lamine Yamal.
I don't know about that. If City come for him, we are knackered, as you said. I mean, I think.
I don't think he would go to City.
I think he would. I think he would. I mean, but those are the clubs that can move him. You see what I'm saying? Vinicius Jr. is the same thing. Those top players. What I'm trying to say is that we are very much separated from that world of players at the moment, and you don't even see it in the horizon, to be fair.
Right. I think you've mentioned 2 players there.
2 top world class players.
Yeah.
or Jude Bellingham.
One's already at Real Madrid.
Anyways.
One's already at Barcelona.
Anyways, anyhow, do you hear him?
He's a bit
Not
low.
very loud.
Morning, Craig. Morning, lads.
That's better.
Chris, you good? Yeah, good, thank you. Morning.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our press ahead of the game with Nottingham Forest on Sunday. We will try and do Sundays today, so please bear that in mind. If you can stick to single questions where possible, that will help us to fit everything in. We'll start with Razor.
Thanks. Good morning, Eddie.
Morning, Razor.
Yesterday, news from the club that Martin Dubravka had signed a new contract. At one stage in January, it looked as though he could be on his way, but now he's going to be with you beyond this season. How pleased are you to get it sorted?
Yeah, pleased to sign Martin to a new contract. Thought it was important in January. We definitely didn't want to destabilise the team or the group with a departure in a position that we couldn't afford that to happen. So, yeah, delighted that he's staying.
And now that all this is sorted, the certainty about his future, how much do you think that will help him? Not that you would necessarily have known about the stuff going on behind the scenes, given the way that he's played since coming back into the team.
Yeah, I don't see a change in Martin. He's very experienced, especially during that month of January, which was probably the most challenging time for him because there was, as you say, a bit of uncertainty over his future. He responded really well to that, partly down to his experience, and he's probably seen all of these situations before in his career. So, yeah, it's over now and he can just focus on his football.
And there's also been a contract extension for Emil Kraft. Why was it important for you as a club to keep him here for another season?
Well, I think with Emil, firstly his character and his attitude stands out. Very reliable, consistent performer, but his versatility, his ability to play different roles is so important for a small squad to have players that can cover in various positions. And I think whenever he's played this year, Emil's been very, very good. So I think he fully deserves his contract extension.
You haven't had Sven Botman for the last couple of matches. Is he fit and available for this weekend?
Don't think he'll be fit and available for this weekend. We're going to have to see how things stand over the weekend for next week. That's bar a remarkable recovery for this weekend. He's making progress, and he's making good progress, but just not as quickly as we wanted it to.
So he's on track. There's been no setback or anything?
Yeah, no, he's very much on track. Just, yeah, not quite ready.
And how's Joe Linton getting on in his recovery from injury?
Doing really well. Pushing, as Joe always does. We just need to make sure we introduce him at the right time.
Last weekend was obviously such a disappointment. You weren't like yourselves. How certain are you that there won't be a repeat of that in the weeks ahead with all the big games coming up, taking into account the quality of your opposition last Saturday?
Well, there's no certainties in football. That I can say with no doubt. But I think there's an understanding that we didn't perform. I think there's an understanding of what we didn't do well enough. We've certainly covered that with the players this week, and we expect a big response.
And Nottingham Forest, finally, they've continued their incredible run into this part of the season. There's obviously lots of reasons why, but among them is Chris Wood, 18 Premier League goals now. I'm sure you're not surprised to see him do well. You're pleased for him, I imagine. He's had an incredible season, hasn't he?
He has. I think he's been outstanding. I mean, Chris, when he came to us, helped us in a really difficult situation. Fighting relegation, we felt we needed a focal point in that position. Someone who could take a lot of pressure off us as a team and give us a physical presence. Thought he did all those things. I thought he was outstanding for the team. Probably often underestimated how much he affected our style and our play that enabled us to stay in the league. And he was an ever-present and did really well. And then, of course, with Callum's return to fitness and Alex's arrival, he ended up moving on, and just delighted for him on a personal level because he's a great character, gave everything for us. Regularly, I can remember him doing so much for the team, filling in positions, sprinting back, doing things that centre-forwards don't normally do. He's still doing that for Nottingham Forest, but he's scoring a lot of goals as well, and a different variety of goals. I think that's the big plus for him. Headers, goals with his feet, goals on counter-attacks, So yeah, really pleased for him.
Thanks, Reza. Keith?
Eddie, on Sven, do you need to take extra care given previous with his knee?
I don't think particularly, Keith. I think it's a totally different injury to the knee that he had previously. We'll just judge the injury in isolation. As soon as he's ready and fit, then of course we'll look to get him back involved as quickly as possible. If anything, it helps his knee to strengthen, and he'll be spending a lot of time in the gym to make sure he's fully fit when he returns.
How's Dan Byrne now?
Dan's good, yeah. Dan's trained this week, no problems.
Okay. And any other injury issues on top of the ones you've already mentioned ahead of?
Not that I can think of.
No. When you look at the last two league results performances at home, and you compare that to the home performance against Arsenal in the Cup, how important is it that this Sunday you get an Arsenal performance and not a Bournemouth or Fulham?
Yeah, I think it's vitally important that we perform. It's vitally important that we show the energy and desire needed to win this game. This will be a very difficult match for us. Nottingham Forest have been excellent on the road this year. They've been consistent. They have a way of playing, regardless of what system they play. They have a style and a way of playing that is very difficult to play against. So we don't underestimate the challenge and the strengths they have in their game. But for us, I want to see a much more vibrant performance than the home games that you mentioned there. I want to see us attack. I want to see us be very much ourselves and be a real goal threat in the game. And I want to see our attacking players express themselves in a really good way. And of course, learning from Manchester City, I want to see us really aggressive off the ball and returning to our very best.
And obviously, a season is full of sort of mixed performances. There are ups and downs, but can you put your finger on why perhaps there hasn't been that vibrancy in certain games, and we have seen it in other big games, if you like?
Yeah, I always say with these things, Keith, that there's never one sole reason. It's always a combination of factors, and those combination of factors are varied and too long to talk about here. But I think we've shown that we can turn it on. We've shown that we can be a very difficult team to play against. And certainly not so long ago, we were very consistent with that. We went through a long winning run where we looked very stable. We looked very certain of ourselves. We looked clear in what we were trying to do. And it's amazing how football can work. And then in a couple of games later, we don't look that cohesive team that we had been for so long. So, of course, that's the challenges we face. The opposition will always plan for us as we plan for them. So we might have to find another way. But as long as the players are expressing themselves in the best way, and I see the performance levels of the players close to their best, I think we'll be fine.
Andy?
Morning, Eddie. We heard some kind of emotional words after Manchester City, not least from Bruno in an impassioned interview. What sort of emotions have you seen from the players in training this week? Have you seen that kind of anger and frustration about the City performance this week in training?
I'm trying to give you an honest answer here. No, I don't think we've seen anger. I think there's definitely been a sense of disappointment. Definitely that's come through. But I think we've trained... I think the attitude to training is very good. The quality, sometimes you can question. We've got a much smaller group at the moment and a weaker group with a few injuries as well. So I think that's had a slight knock-on effect. But the attitude's there, and I think the hunger is there to then put that performance to bed and put it right. And I think that's the main thing. The intention then has to be very strong to come back and show our true selves.
We've seen this squad, in difficult positions before this season, not least after Brentford, for instance. What makes this squad so good at bouncing back from setbacks, and what makes you confident that they can do so again?
Well, I think fundamentally it's always about attitude. I think behind the team is a very strong character, a group of characters, very strong will to do well, a very strong will to represent the club in the right way. I think that its heart is one of our biggest strengths. And the good, strong leadership within the player group. I think they know the expectations that they need to reach. We know we didn't do that as a group. And I think then there's a really strong will to come back and fight back. But nothing's ever easy and nothing's given to us. So then there's no guarantee. So we have to create that guarantee with how we approach this game.
Lewis Mally's had to be pretty patient this season, given the form of the midfield. It looked really, really good when he came on against Manchester City again. How much of an opportunity do you think this is to kind of solidify and really make a run for a starting berth consistently for him?
Yeah, I think he's very much in and around that position at the moment. I think his performance against Manchester City, as you say, was probably the one big positive to take from the game. There wasn't many, but he approached the game in the way that really we should have done from the start. He was brave in both phases, aggressive off the ball, brave on the ball, fearless in his approach, and played his normal game, and I thought he played very strongly.
Just finally, you've spoken about Chris Wood and been personally delighted for him. Elliot Anderson, how delighted are you for him, the fact that he's now making them up? We all knew the talent that we'd seen here at Newcastle. He's demonstrating that on a weekly basis now for Forest, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. And whenever I see Nottingham Forest play, he's a player that catches my eye, of course, because I know him and know his game inside and out. And I think he's been a real creative force for them, sometimes from a deeper area. But very passionate, very gifted player. And bittersweet for me to watch him play for Nottingham Forest, because pleased for him on a personal level, but obviously disappointed for us that we lost such a great player.
Thanks, Andy. Nisha?
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Can we have an update on Jamal Lascelles' recovery, please?
Yeah, Jamal's continuing to work. I think he was the last player to leave yesterday with some of the staff. He works extraordinarily long hours to try and get himself fit. I think he was here till 5 o'clock again yesterday. Dedicated as you've seen a player try to return from injury. He's had various problems and little setbacks, nothing major during his recovery, but just little moments that have ended up knocking his recovery back. So he's been on the grass, he's been training individually with physios. Hasn't got beyond that stage yet, but I think he's in a pretty good place. We're probably looking towards the end of the season as a return date for him.
You've spoken already about the positive news about Martin Dubravka's contract. How has that battle for the number one spot evolved over the last few weeks between him and Nick Pope?
Yeah, it's an interesting way to describe it. I think for me, Nick's come back from an injury. Now, Nick was pushing to come back early, really. From the assessment, I think was given 6 weeks from his knee injury. I think he ended up, at 5. Did very well to come back. But Nick's just been, I think, getting his feel back. I think goalkeeping is such a unique position. Getting your rhythm back as a goalkeeper. Got good game minutes against Birmingham, which would have been great for him, and I thought he performed well. So the battle you talk about, really, for me, is just trying to see both players at their best levels, and then, of course, it's my job to pick one.
Okay, we'll try and squeeze in as many as we can. We'll start with Damien, we'll go to Ian, and then Craig.
Hi Eddie, just going back to Chris Wood, was selling him in hindsight an indication of how you were going to have to trade throughout this period, or was it just a case that you were looking to go a different way at the time?
Well, definitely trading is something I've said many times we have to do. It's not a choice. We have to trade players out, and at that stage, we had to trade players out as a necessity. Obviously, the necessity was building upwards as we approached the next window. But also there was the side for Chris, because Chris was at that stage not getting the game minutes that he wanted, and it was his big push really to want to go rather than my wish to lose him.
Okay, Ian?
Morning, Eddie. Still on the Chris Wood theme, did you ever, you're clearly an admirer of the player, but did you ever envisage him being up there with Haaland, Isaac and Salah in the goal scoring charts?
I never doubted Chris's ability. Hence, when he was here, before obviously the signing of Alex, and depending on Callum's availability, he played regularly for us, and he played very well. Now, he didn't score the goals that he's scoring now, but he was such a pivotal part of the team, and I think I remember sitting here on a regular basis saying how good I thought he was for us. And the fact we were winning games, in part, the number that we were, was down to his general performance was very strong. But as I said earlier, I think it's the variety of goals that he scored has been so impressive. Totally different array of goals he scored has been so impressive. Totally different array of goals, which is making him a difficult player to mark. And that's someone that, for our perspective, our defenders are going to have to play very well against him this weekend.
And why didn't he score the goals for Newcastle, which he is doing for Forest and he did for some of his previous clubs?
Well, I can never give an answer to that, because I'm not behind the scenes at Nottingham Forest. But for us, he played his role in helping probably other players score more goals than he did himself. He was very selfless for us. He played an incredible role, and I think he supported the team and his teammates unbelievably well here.
Okay, to Craig, Jason, and then Louise.
Morning, Eddie. We spoke to you down at the Etihad last week about the possibility, be it subconsciously or otherwise, of players playing with one eye. On the cup final, you said you wanted time to digest that theory. Have you this week? And what would your message be to any player who perhaps does think a place is guaranteed for Wembley?
The reason I laugh is I should never say that to you, Craig, should I? That I need time to digest, because then you always want an answer the other side. Yeah, the cup final is irrelevant for me. Absolutely irrelevant. In terms of looking back at Manchester City, we just have to look at Manchester City in isolation, and the isolation of that game, I don't think we were aggressive, but we weren't aggressive enough. We didn't follow through with our actions enough. I thought we got to a certain level of our off the ball play, but it stopped at a certain point, and we lacked that bravery, I think, to really fully implement what we wanted to do. And that actually left us in a more vulnerable position. So for whatever reason, we didn't fully commit, and that would be the same on the ball. I don't think we fully committed on the ball. I don't think we were brave enough on the ball. So I think there's a lot of stuff to grow from that game, both in and out of possession, that we're trying to put right for the next game. And that for me, the cup final is not part of that.
You say that about the cup final, and that's understandable given where you are in the league. You know, a lot of what we ask and talk about is framed in the context of the cup final, but you've still got the Champions League there. And you said, I think it was in September, any player who's got ambitions to be a Champions League player, well, achieve it here first. Does that message still stand?
Of course it does, from my perspective. Everything's about us and Newcastle, and I can't look beyond anything other than this season and in this moment. And the challenge for us and the coaching staff, the players, is to finish as high as we can in the league, and our target should be what's immediately ahead of us and above us. We have to try and chase down teams like Nottingham Forest and the various teams that we have above us in the league. That's a small target of points. I don't think it's impossible for us to achieve it. But certainly the game we have coming up is potentially a big moment in that, because if we let our immediate opposition slip away from us, as in Nottingham Forest, it becomes very, very difficult to make that gap up. So important games for us coming up in the next few weeks.
Jason.
Hi, Eddie. Just a bit more colour on Chris Wood's time at the club, really. Was he a joker? Was he on the end of jokes? I know he's a proud New Zealander. Did you chat cricket with him? Was he trying to hijack the playlist and get in Crowded House and Kiri Tikana were on the playlist, stuff like that? So getting the lads to do a haka before a game?
Well, actually, one of my vivid memories of Chris talking about the haka was him in his initiation moment doing the haka. Hugely impressive thing. He's such a big lad that he was fully engaged, fully aggressive, and he delivered it to a really high standard. Now, but I think Chris is a character. Chris is a strong person, and that's why when he came into the club, when we were in a desperate position in the league, he immediately solidified the group. You need strong characters in that moment. You need players that have been in that position many times before. But he rolled his sleeves up. He went to work, and I think he could be really proud of his time at the club. I think people too often look at statistics and sort of draw their judgment from just numbers. Chris's time isn't defined by that for me. He's defined by what he did to the group and how he helped us stay in the league.
Thank you. We'll go to Louise, Lee, and then Mark. Louise.
Hi, Eddie.
Hi, Louise.
I'm just wondering, you've got a sort of minor gap between the Brighton game and the West Ham game on the Monday night. Are you thinking about taking the team away somewhere warm to sort of decompress, have a rest, and maybe work on tactics in the sun?
Be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
No, we're not. No, we're not. I think you've got to remember we've got an international break coming up pretty soon after that, and the players will be travelling all over the world for their countries. So I don't necessarily think travelling at that moment will benefit the players. So we'll do our intense work in the sun here.
Yeah. So you think sometimes these things can be counterproductive?
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, no, I'm a big believer in taking the players away and working with them with minimal distractions and staying with the players for longer, which is obviously the benefit of travelling to a destination. But I think you have to sort of try and read the schedule of what the players have beyond and before that, and work out whether it's the right time to do it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Louise. Lee?
Eddie, I know it was Real Madrid who dismantled Man City the other night, but did you look at that game with a bit of regret that your team wasn't able to have that flying start, given what was said before the game and how vulnerable Man City have looked this season?
Yeah, I never said anything about Manchester City being vulnerable. For me, I think I said post-game, for me, they're still the best team in the build-up, and I think the team that they played against us was a very strong team. And we didn't, as I said in my answer earlier, I don't think we were brave enough. We were brave to a point, but we weren't brave enough. And that fearless approach has become part of our identity. We have to have that in every moment against every opposition. I can't talk too much about Real Madrid. They're a different level to us, but we have to certainly learn from that game.
On this game, Nottingham Forest sometimes play 5 across the midfield. Could patience be the key word?
It is important at home. Yeah, I think patience is important at home. You never know how the game's gonna go. You never know what position we're going to be in. You'd love to think positive and think, we can really attack the game and express ourselves in a really good way and be the team that we want to be. But we have to be adaptable. If that's the case, then we'll have to do that. And patience could be a key thing for us.
Thanks, Lee. We've got Mark and Luke and Scott, please.
He talked there about Champions League. How transformative would it be for the club to get back in there? And is that a really motivating factor for you with these next few games?
Yeah, transformative. Yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily the right word, but it would certainly help in every aspect. It would help us continue our journey really in a positive way, continue to build on the experiences that we had in our previous campaign. And I think it would help the evolution of the club. For me, it's a big motivation. It's a big driver. We want to achieve. We want excitement. We want the season to have a great end in lots of different ways. And we want to give ourselves the best chance to do that in various competitions. So that's why it's important we get our Premier League form back on track.
You mentioned there about home form as well. How important is a quick start at home? Because it seems like when you come out the blocks, the crowd lift and the whole sort of feeling of the game is different.
Yeah, so it's an important thing, and I think it's a two-way thing. If we can get the crowd in the game, if we can start the game well, obviously it transforms the feeling. And a lot of the time, the players are playing on feelings. They're playing on the feeling of the stadium. They're playing on the feeling of their own emotion. So we have to try to make that as positive as we can.
Thank you. Luke?
When your team's good, it can be brilliant. But when it's off it can be sort of an infuriating side to watch. Is it infuriating for you?
I'm just trying to think if I would describe it as infuriating. I think there's a frustration there, and I think there has been at different times this season, of course, but I think the players share that. They're human. They share the emotions that I share when they watch a performance. It's either elation or it's disappointment. Very rarely for us this season it's been in the middle. There's been very rarely middle ground. But you have to understand the game that we're in. It is that kind of game. For most teams in the Premier League this year, probably apart from Liverpool, and you look at a couple of other teams who've had outstanding seasons like Nottingham Forest and Bournemouth and teams like Fulham. Everyone else has had those moments where we've been frustrated and then we have to come back and be strong again. The league is so tough and everyone's expectations are different as well. So we can only live in our world, and our world is that we've had some really good games, we've had some disappointing games, but we're just looking to generally improve our performances and be more consistent. And the challenge starts this weekend.
Just finally, are you still confident that your players got the strength of character, the focus to have a positive reaction like they have done previously to setbacks this season?
Yeah, I don't doubt the players in terms of character. I said that earlier. I think we've got a brilliant group of people who want success. We're not perfect. We've got a very small squad. We've got challenges. But I've never shied away from the fact that I really believe in the players we have.
Thank you. We've got Scott, Chris and then Martin.
Hi, Eddie. You spoke about Elliott a few times and how excited you were by him and obviously how hurt you were to lose him. Do you see the same level of potential in Lewis? Can he get to where Elliott is now as a kind of nailed-on regular Premier League start? And how much of Lewis's development over the next year, 18 months, is going to be dictated by whether or not he can force his way into this team? Because there is an argument that for all he's clearly done really well, if Elliott had stayed here, maybe he would not have played that much football this season, given how well the rest of your midfield's done.
Yeah, let me start at the beginning. I think Lewis can be, at this moment, anything he wants to be. I think the bar is that high for him. when I watch him in training, as we do, of course, every day, you see the level of player we have. The challenge for him, and I've said this many times, is he's got to break into a midfield of Sandro Tonali, Bruno, Joe Linton when he's fit, Joe Willock, Sean Longstaff. You know, it's a really good group of players. And to get ahead of those starting players is not easy, but it will be a testament to his ability if he can and how quickly he can. Certainly doing himself no harm by coming onto the pitch as he did against Manchester City and having the strength in that kind of game to showcase his abilities. Yeah, I get your point. But Elliot broke into the team, our team, at the back end of last season and was really beginning to show his level of ability, his attacking level of ability that he has, and he's taken that on to another level, partly because he's played every week, of course. Louis is a totally different player to Elliot. I wouldn't compare them both, but Louis got standout qualities.
Thanks, Scott. Chris?
Morning, Eddie. You said that they made it clear to the players this week about what went wrong last week. What does that actually look like in terms of, I know you do a lot of analysis looking at the last game and looking at the opposition, but if you have a real down performance like that, how long do you linger on it? Are they made to watch through the entire game again, like that sort of cliched sit and watch through the entire match? What does that actually look like?
No, I wouldn't make them sit down and watch the whole game, because I think that's sometimes negative. I'm a big believer in one-to-one meetings, being very direct with what I like and what I don't like, and that works both ways, by the way. That's just not in negative moments, that's in positive moments. So very direct feedback, and then of course there's a time for when the whole group needs to hear certain things, so we've done a bit of both this week.
Okay, thank you. Martin?
Morning, Eddie. As an ex-centre-half, would you have fancied facing Chris straight after he did his hacker?
Wondered where that was going then. I never shied away from a challenge as a player, but probably looking at the level I played at, I'm not sure I'd fare too well against Chris.
And you've used that phrase already. Is it bittersweet that both Chris and Elliot have been so crucial in creating a Champions League chasing rival?
Yeah, not so much for Chris, I think, but definitely for Elliot, because different stage of his career. And Elliot wasn't a player, I've said many times, that we wanted to lose. So it's always a difficult one with ex-players, because I always wish them well, especially players that give everything for me in my time. You can't not wish ex-players to go on and further their careers and enjoy the rest of their time in the game. But now we're competing against them, so of course we want to win.
Thank you. I've got Kieran, Jordan, Dom. Yep.
Morning, Eddie. You know these players very well, but I imagine you're making assessments every day still. How important is it for them to continue to impress before the summer?
Before the summer was the last bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, they have to impress every day. That's their job. So you can't live off past performances. I very much have to take my eyes for what I see every day and make daily assessments to then lead to the next game, and I've always lived by that. And then we move on to the next game, and I'm making those assessments again. So I think there's big motivations at the moment for the players to do well. We have big games coming up. I'm sure all of them want to be involved in those games. So I think there's a lot of sort of good opportunities for them to prove that they want to be in the team and stay in the team.
And does it feel this season that there's maybe a spot open for Forest or Newcastle to kind of disrupt?
Yeah, I always think there's a spot for us. I'm not any other team. There's a spot for us for sure if we want it enough and we're good enough. The opportunity is there.
Thanks, Kieran. Jordan?
Hi, Eddie. Does this game have a big game feel to it, and can that benefit your players?
Well, if it doesn't, there's something wrong. It's a massive game for us. Teams above us in the league, we're chasing Nottingham Forest down. They've had a brilliant season. So if we don't look at it that way, there's a problem. We can't underestimate the challenge. This is a huge game.
Tom?
Morning, Eddie. You've touched on the new contracts of your players, two of your most experienced players in the squad. You've got several other players out of contract, your most experienced and oldest players. Looking at the medium to long-term future of your squad, how important is it to find that balance between experience but then also bringing the average age of the squad down?
Yeah, it's always a big thing. I think when we first came to the club, there was a big group of players who were in their early 30s. and that's always a problem if you're outnumbered in any way, too young or too old. It can create long-term problems. So there may be a readdressing of that, as there's always a readdressing of that because players get older, unfortunately. So yeah, we're constantly looking at youth and potential new signings. But of course, there is a big place for experienced players in the squad. They have to be there because they have been there and done it, and they can lend a lot of experience on. But they also set the culture, and then usually the big leaders in the group as well. So we have to get that balance right.
Thanks, Dom. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your help with time in there. We'll do Sundays now. Please note, broadcasters, an embargo 10:30 p.m. on.
All right. Well, that was that, ladies and gentlemen. Man, oh man, my.
Doesn't get any better, does it?
No. Welcome to the Nottingham Forest presser.
I swear to God, man. Do you tell me what's the point of asking Chris Wood questions? As if it was Haaland that played for us, and then I can be, come on, man. 5-6 questions on Chris Wood. And about Haka.
Fucking
come
hell,
on.
Man.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. It's depressing that, man.
Ross.
It's criminal, mighty Wayne.
It is so poor.
Oh man, that is poor win. But
and it's just following a pattern, isn't it?
I mean, it is, isn't
Every
it? To
week
be honest,
appears to be the same.
Well, it makes me laugh it's as if they've just literally been thrown in there and they haven't prepared for a presser at all. It's like a case of, right, what can I talk about? You know what I mean? It's like, come on. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Oh, I thought I heard something in the background then. And for me, when you get, I understand one, potentially two questions about opposition players that have played for us and are going on to do really well. But I don't know how many times we have to answer the same questions because we've already had Anderson's, doing really well in previous shows, in previous presses. What's changed now? You know what I mean? Just because we're playing Forest again. And like you say, the questions about Chris Wood were just nauseating. I mean, I could understand, again, I'd understand him saying, is there a fear factor amongst the squad? The form of Chris Wood at the moment, is it something that because you've worked alongside him, you could do a tactic to work against it? Now, we know in the past Chris Wood has come to St James's Park and banged a hat-trick. You know what I mean? So it didn't work then. Not going to say it's going to work again. But what I'm saying to you is there's a lot more interesting questions out there to talk about if they want to talk about Chris Wood rather than the fucking hacker, because that just drove me insane.
Yeah. It's just insane. I mean, here we got a lot of people talking about it. Actually, well, Alan McKenzie, you need some mods in here. We do got mods, but it's probably a bit too early. They fell asleep. Trolls just joined anyway, but we got rid of. Actually, Mighty Mag was busy getting rid of those guys. So yeah, I mean, it's actually the same person over and over. I don't understand that, man. It's just the same person with the same account, different accounts actually, but the same person. Coming back and back, to get the same numpty every once in a while. So I apologize for that, but we got it sorted anyway. We banned them from the channel completely. The same guy anyway. So, anyways, I mean, different.
What are the things that we were talking about? When, for example, on Thursday when we did the preview, who's going to be right back? Who's going to be centre-back? Is he going to try 3 at the back again the way he did against Arsenal? And if so, is Trips the right man for the job? Etc., etc., etc. Proper questions that he could have been asked to put him on the spot. And instead of that, just bloody flippin' blah.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. And also questions like, is the Champions League important?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, You know, got somebody in the chat there earlier on was saying, no, not at all. Would rather be playing in the Howden five-a-side league.
I mean, it's just it's crazy, man. It's crazy. I don't get it, man. I mean, somebody said, these people get paid over 100K a year. I don't know about that actually, but I mean, they get paid to be there and ask questions. That's a fact. Ask proper questions. But they're not doing that, so I don't know, man. It's very. Some of these questions are like a piss take type, like it makes you want to fight somebody. I mean, like, come on, man. It just makes zero sense. One of the
It was
things
nice to see the reaction though from Miley's performance coming on against Man City, and obviously he's been highlighted as one of the starlets of the entire game, if you like, even though he only had a very small cameo version. But it was nice the fact that he got noticed and was applauded for his work rate. Like I said, for me, when you look at what Eddie Howe said about Miley getting a chance in the squad and a good run, the same as that Elliot Anderson has at Forest. I understand that link in the right type of question. But for me, when you've got a player who really come on against the same team as everybody else failed at in this so-called great midfield that we've got, and still you saw the doubt come out of Eddie Howe's mouth that he's still got to fight for a place within the so-called specialised area. Yeah. And that to me is like a case of, is he going to play Miley? No, is the answer. Because the lad, unfortunately, he's just too young. You also heard Eddie Howe say he wants experience out on the park. And that is the other for me, the downfall of Eddie Howe, because he's as an opposition coach, you are so easy to work against when you're picking the same players week in, week out.
Yeah. I mean, when he
said, I think he's very much in and around that midfield position at the moment. I think his performance against Man City, as you say, was probably one of the big positives to take from the game, because there weren't many. He approached the game in a way that really we all should have done from the start. He was brave in both phases, aggressive, off the ball, brave on the ball, fearless in his approach, and I thought he played very strongly.
Yep.
So I'm like I said on yesterday, I think he will start him.
You're talking about?
Well, he's got to start him over Willock, because Willock was a non-entity. You know what I mean? If J7 isn't back, and that's where I said. It's the manner of it, isn't it? When you look at the likes of, and again, I understand the coach not wanting to throw people under the bus, especially when you're limited on numbers. But we're not limited in numbers in the midfield, and that's where I keep saying. It's like I said, when you're picking the same players over and over again because of one performance you can think of, and I'm not including Tonali in this, because for me, probably our standout midfielder this season has been Tonali. But it's like I said, what you need is players in and around that's going to show a little bit of grit and a little bit of know-how, and try and keep hold of the ball. And that to me has been one of the most disappointing things this season. We've struggled in that middle of the park at times. It's like a hot potato. Nobody wants the ball, or they're trying to rush the pass. But I want somebody with a little bit of composure. And for me, Miley's shown a lot of composure. He hasn't been massively great in all games. But when you throw him on when the team's absolutely being hammered, and it's the same with any other player, as you've said in the past, Win, it's no good putting him on in the 80th minute when you're 3-0 down, because what are you expecting from them when the rest of the heads have gone anyway?
Yeah, he can't help it. When he was asked about the mentality of the players, if he's so angry, if he's so determination, he paused there for a second, man. He was like, I was like, whoa, what? I mean, you paused there, and he was like, I'm trying to give you an honest answer. I'm not sure how to take that, because after a performance like that, it should be a no-brainer. It should be, everybody should be fired up.
I think he was asked, was he infuriated?
No.
And
Not,
he said infuriated isn't the word I would use.
No. They didn't ask him if he was infuriated. They're talking about the team. If they were angry, if they had determination, if fired back in training, and he talked about the team, not him. And he paused there for a second and said, "I'm trying to be honest with you. I don't know if angry is the word, but certainly the team has trained well. I'm not happy with that answer, man. I'm not happy after that performance. I'm not happy with that answer, certainly. And that maybe goes to what Gary was talking about. You know, that the lads feel like they got a guaranteed spot, or some of them. It's hard to think that some of them might.
As far as J7's concerned, he said he's doing really well. He's pushing as Joe always does. We just need to make sure we introduce him at the right time. So that to me doesn't say that he's going to be in the lineup on Saturday.
No. And I think at the end of the day, you've got to look at when you're coming back from injury. That is something that I always say: get them back when they can compete. When you're going in there half-hearted, and I've said this before, when you come back with a slight knock, and you know, the one thing I've seen of Eddie Howe recently is any player, and I'm going to forgive him for the Botman saga because, again, I do think that was 75 to 80% Botman wanting to play rather than the specialist saying he can't play. But, you know, Eddie Howe does have to sometimes pull his britches up and say, I'm the coach and I'm the one who picks the side. And I think that just shows how desperate we were at the time. You know, and we have changed a little bit in that back line regarding, you know, players have come in and did a great job for us. And like I say, I think Dan Burns done a really good job at that left centre-back position. He hasn't got all the quality with the footwork regarding passing, but what he does give you is that, you know, doggedry. He gets stuck in. He fights for everything. He's the black and white through and through. For me, it was more the fact that, like, you know, bringing players back when they can commit to the cause. Don't bring them back because you're missing something. And I think that's what Eddie Howe has been guilty of in the past at times. He's bringing players too quick back into the fold. And again, it's a selection issue. You know, rather than him putting in a kid or a younger player to go on there and have a go and see what happens, he's gambled on a 95 or a 90% fit player to come on and do something. And sometimes I think that's backfired on him.
Yep. Let me see. Any other questions that or answers that came up that could be interesting other than the draws?
Lascelles he was asked about. That's talking about the end of the season now. Jamal continuing to work. I think he was the last player to leave. He works extraordinarily long hours. He was here until 5 p.m. yesterday. Poor thing. He is as dedicated a player as you will see. He's had various problems. He's had setbacks, nothing major, but little moments that have knocked back his recovery. He's been on grass and training individually with the physios. He's not gone beyond that stage yet. He's in a pretty good place. We're probably looking towards the end of the season as a return date. Well, so he's not coming back anytime soon.
No.
That's what I say. Don't count on people you can't count on. Plain and simple. Plain and simple.
But that does keep us very, very weak on the right centre-back situation, though, doesn't it? Because we've really only got one natural right centre-back, and that is obviously Fabian Schär.
Well, you've got Kraft because Kraft again.
He can't do a job.
Kraft was concerned. What did he say?
He's healthy. He can play.
With Emil, firstly, his character and attitude stands out. He's very reliable, a consistent performer, but his versatility, his ability to play different roles is so important for a small squad to have players that can cover in various positions. I think whenever he's played this year, he's been very, very good. Mm-hmm. So I think he fully deserves his contract extension.
Yep, I agree with that, actually. I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He's probably available tomorrow. I think I'd probably start him in front of Schär, mate.
That is a massive, massive step that I don't think Eddie Howe has the capability of doing. To be honest, I don't think he has the
kahunas,
the personality to do that. That's just being honest, I mean, and by the way, if he does that, I mean, it's pretty much telling Shar, you're not good.
No, it's what it should be telling shares
To get ready, but I mean,
your last few performances haven't been good enough. Up your game, Bonnie lad.
Yeah. I mean, I can agree with you. I don't have an issue with Kraft. And then you got Botman on the other end, so Byrne is going to have to play no matter what. So now if you think about it, we are very limited when it comes to multiple positions. Before now, more than when we started the season. In the center back position, even though we went to get Margui, people would say, "Well, we still got this guy, that guy, that guy." Now we are very limited. So now we got to add center back to our shopping list. That's what Hoyson from Bournemouth was linked to us, or Fabrizio Romano linked us with him. And so now in the summer, you have to get a center back, you have to get a right wing. What else? Maybe that's it. But you still got to strengthen the squad. You still got to strengthen the squad. Maybe a striker, yeah. But you still got, So and that's
if Trips is going, we'll want a right back as well.
Yeah.
I think a lot of what we're talking about now is what we see, as a vulnerable situation. But I think, depending on the lads that have been bought and have been loaned out, and we haven't really seen a lot of them. If these lads, because obviously they can't come over until they're 18, they turn 18. There could be lots of nearly runs within the squad this time. Well, at the start of next season, whether you like the Pivas and the like. I know he's not getting many minutes at Willem too, but I mean he certainly seems again very much Kraft-like, very versatile, plays across right centre back, right back, plays in deep midfield if you need him. Again, I'd be interested to see the makeup of the squad when these lads actually start to train with our first team. And like I say, when you look at a striker, dependent on the situation at the start of the season, we've got the other lad that we've got out with his club in Georgia. I can't think of his name now. Cilia, who again has all the potential to be a really good player. But it's like I said, it's whether Eddie Howe would back the youth over the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got to see Asula. We've got to see more of Asula to see whether he can make the grade.
Well, absolutely. But I think you'll see Asula more on the right-hand side than you will up front, especially if Callum's fit. And like I said, that to me is that, why not loan the lad out if you're not going to utilise him? But again, that's how thin the squad is, and that's how much confidence he's probably got in the likes of Callum Wilson to stay fit. Because your hands are tied to a degree, aren't you?
Interested by John there, says that City performance was possibly the worst since Eddie Howe took over. You would imagine he would have been very bullish this morning to reassure fans it was corrected this week in training. That was awful. Exactly. I was taken back a little bit by what he paused there for a second. I'm trying to be honest. Yeah, I mean. Well, hopefully we come up.
I would certainly put that City performance down as the worst since we had Tenali back.
I don't think we had a performance like that.
That
bad.
I'm struggling
to remember that bad. We got
no. Well,
like
we've had worse performances than that, but that was last season when Villa for a start. Villa away last season.
No, what? We beat Villa both times last season. We beat them away and we beat them at home.
We got beat 3-0, man, didn't we?
No. We beat them.
Before?
Well, the season before we got beat against Villa, but that, I mean, this is 4-0. I mean, we couldn't even pass two. We
had one shot on target. I think that says it all, doesn't it? When you're only having one shot on target, out of a 90, and not many shots throughout the 90. Not many possession ranks
It was nothing.
in their off.
It was
You
just
know,
stinking.
that's where you. I mean, you're always going to lose. That's football. You can never go and guarantee a win. You know, even the likes of Liverpool, who seem to be that steady team at the minute, will always come up against somebody and have a hiccup. They lost against Forest. Nobody anticipated that one. But I mean, it was for me. It's a case of, unfortunately, with Eddie Howe, is how he gets the reaction, a positive reaction, because, like he said, you can see all this in training throughout the week, but what he can't answer is why the performance then goes onto the field of play, having seen all this good stuff in training through the week. And that, to me, like I said, your hands are tied when you have nobody to replace them, because it's very difficult to go and replace 11 players, because there wasn't a single player on that field that could come off and say, I've had a good game today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, not in that game. That's a fact. None of them. But you know, it's we will move on. We'll see what happens against Forest.
It will be interesting.
We have to turn up. If not, I mean, that is not good at all. And if you really want to take points away from teams that you think might drop off, some people might say that Forest still going to drop off. They might not. It might be the Leicester of 2015, but well, I mean, I don't know about winning it either. But maybe staying second, third, whatever. But if you still think that they're going to drop off, you're going to have to take some points away from them, and this is the perfect opportunity to do that. And if we get beaten, because last time at St. James's Park, we're going to look at it in the Premier League show here in a few minutes. So please join us on the website, exclusive on the website. We're going to have the Jordy Bias Premier League show. We're going to take a look at some of those highlights. And
if we get beat off Forest on Sunday, that's 3 home Prem defeats on the trot. And I can't remember the last time that happened.
Well, let me tell you that to be honest, that is a stat, but it's almost not an important stat. To me, what that means is
we are knackered.
For the I mean, that means like Europe is done, man. I mean, I'm telling you. I mean, if we can't beat, we got to be able to beat these teams, because Forest, they're going to be. It looks like they're going to.
And bear in mind the performance before that was Wolves. We won 3-0, but that was a lucky 3-0 win.
Yeah.
Sounds stupid, that I know, but they could have, they could have had hope.
And remember, last time against Forest, we thought we were going to beat them, and they were in this middle form, and they beat us like a drum.
They beat us at a canter, and that was just a ball over the top as well. We were very Spurs-like that day, with the ball over the top, and it was just counters every time. And we just, like I said, the one thing that and again, we go back to Man City, playing that high line with a very slow back four on the turn, you are asking for trouble with no cover at the back. If you're going to go that high, then you need one of your two. Well, I say two. We hadn't got two that day because obviously we had trips in. But you need one of your Louis Sauls or your Tinos that will obviously cover your backside in the back line. But we were all over the shop against Man City, and that to me was poor. Was the fact that you buy these players to play a specific role, and then you change your tactics. And I don't think any coach, as good as you are, can actually go from playing one system and then going into a complete defensive unit and expect the same type of performance. Just doesn't happen.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see. By the way, I can let me see. We got the quiz tonight. By the way, we got a couple of shows left today. So really interesting Friday. We got the Premier League show on the website NUFCtalk.tv right after this show. And then we got the quiz night at 10 p.m. And it's going to be about the 22-23 season. The
greatest season in my life.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good one. And don't forget, tomorrow, we have nothing actually tomorrow, Saturday. Just going to take a day off and relax. But Sunday, we're back in business with...
I'm traveling to the northeast tomorrow.
Yeah, there you go. He's going to the game. So in the Sunday we got the match an hour before kickoff. We'll be live, and I thought I was going to be by myself, but then an interesting thing happened to where a good old friend of ours, Jack, has come back to YouTube, and he's going to join me for the watch along. We're going to do the watch along together. Really good lad. Hope that we can help out his channel as well with some of you guys. Really good lad. Really good takes. Young lad, 17, but I think he's got a good mind on him. Better than Mighty Win, certainly. He's got a brighter future than Mighty Win. Can you believe that? At 17.
Most people have a brighter future than I have. Will he have his brighter past, though? That's the thing.
There you go.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Love it.
You should do the Ronald Reagan on Jack. I won't use my opponent's youth and inexperience against him when they question him whether he was too old to become president or not. But no, that was great to have Jack. Good lad. So we're gonna get him on right now. We're gonna be done with this. Join us on the website NUFCtalk.tv. I'm going to drop a link one more time. Please join us to the NTTV All Access right there. That's the link. We're about to go live there, so please join us. If you're on PC, laptop, you can live chat with us. We're going to be, the reason why we're doing this, we're going to give you premium content. We're going to be showing highlights, taking a deep look at what's going on in the Premier League. And of course, every time that we go onto the website, we're going to give you stuff that we cannot do on YouTube. So please join us right now on the website, NUFCtalk.tv, right there. Link is in the chat. Join us, and we'll see you in a minute. Take care, lads.
How are the lads?
Lasses and bands.